Let's do this. Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and this is Movie Crap Live. How are y'all doing tonight? Can you hear me? I hope so. Hold on. Let's do this. Okay, there we go. Hey. Sorry I'm a minute late. Hello, Nettenbox64, Sinram, Blaxiox, Winkle, Mono Loco, Austin, Disco Spider, Sinram again, Alex the Menace, and then that tweet. There we go. People know. Sleepy Time 4 Cat Productions, Nathaniel Foga, Discount, Viscount. Sinram's here the whole show. Thank you to be here, Sinram. Jim is on. Thank you. TuneJ723, Purple Goop. All right. We are here. Twisted Razor. Cornbread. I like it. Cornbread calls me Big Cat. I'm not sure where that comes from, but I like it. Super Kirby Dude. Whale Snake Noise. That's a good one. Major Mechazawa. Elwood DD. Paige Howard. A guy named Crystal. Sunspot Mill. M Blood Tea. Jordan Salafalo. We got a good group tonight. K-Master. Buster's here. Zodberg's here. Is there two of me here tonight? Sorry. I just like saying your name. And Pandy with the first super chat. Happy Saturday indeed. Let me do the fade right quick. Hold on. Hello. How's it going, everybody? How's it going? And cheers to you. Cheers to you, Pandy. Sorry, Pandy. Happy Saturday, and a happy Saturday to you, too. Adrian is here. How is it going? Really? Malcolm D. Lee? That's interesting. Now I want to look that up. But first, Buster's here. Let's get Buster on the stream early. Hello, Cass's Classic Cameron. Happy Easter to you, too. Hold on. We have another super chat. Before we do, Buster, you want to say hi to the stream? How are you doing tonight? You're already getting a little rowdy, huh? Yeah? Do you want to say hi on the mic? Say hi in the camera? Alright, I think we've given enough, huh? Are you good? Good boy. Alright. Sorry. Okay. Let's go up. There's a super chat I missed from Nattenbox64. Says, can't wait to see Planet CNN and Planet TBBT. What's TBBT? I'm confused by that. But cheers to you, Nattenbox64. I'm in a lot of Buster hair there. Oh, by the way, hello, Andy West. Rizo Lolita, Patty, again, sorry, Major Mechazawa. Obloxy says, thoughts on The Crew, starring Kevin James being nominated for Best Picture despite a sitcom and on streaming. Also, I finally have a nice leather top hat. Oh, congrats to you. I hadn't heard that the Academy changed the rules and decided to nominate that, but congrats to The Crew. Cheers to you, Bloxy. And yeah. Oh, sorry. The Big Bang Theory. Of course. I'm sure they'll have a bazinga in there. Did I say cheers on that in box 64 as well? I think I got everyone. And according to the chat, it is a guy named Crystal's birthday. Happy birthday, a guy named Crystal. Sorry. Happy birthday, a guy named Crystal. I hope this is a good birthday. I hope this is worth it. And I hope you've had a good birthday. Anyway, before we get into the stream, what is there to talk about? It's been a long week of working, basically. Man, I don't know what was the last movie I watched with Sophie. I can't remember right now. Not sure what we're gonna watch. I know we want to watch another Godzilla. I can't really watch Godzilla and Kong with her. I'm sorry, I'm petting Buster at the same time. I can't really do that. That's not really, appropriate. When you rip the spines out of creatures. Not too good for the kiddies. But, we've just been having fun, being silly, watching cartoons. I don't know. Nothing. Keep up the good work. Your show is a fave of mine. Thank you, Jordan Powers. Thank you very much. Cheers to you, sir. Just working on stuff. feel like I've had some, I can't think of anything, so I'm just going to say a few things and we'll just start the show, I guess. Um, I can't think of it's just been a lot of going into work this week, so I can't think of anything too crazy, but, just a normal week. I guess, what was oh yeah, I am working on that Magnificent Amberson's Lost Film File, which is like a big project for me, and I shot half of the script and it was like 30 minutes. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be long. So I'm hoping not this Friday, which will be, I hope, every Toonami show ever, but maybe the one after. But we'll see. I think that's going to be a major one. I might just work on it that Friday, but it's going to be a big one because it's kind of a long saga, and I'm excited for that one. I'm excited. It's kind of like intimidating, but I'm going to finish it the rest of this week. I'm excited. I don't know how many of you guys know about Magnificent Ambersons or care that I'm working on this or anything like that, but it's a project I'm really excited about. So anyway, Zane Powers asks, when are you going to watch Godzilla 98 with her? Never. She does not need to see that. That is a bad movie. I saw it in theaters. What's funny is Godzilla vs. Kong, I'll say this, is exactly what I wanted that 98 one to be. I wanted it to be like fun, dumb, stupid, and it wasn't. But anyway. But hold on. But cheers to you, Zane Powers. Thank you very much for the super chat. And Toonjay723 says April 6, 2021 will be a historic day. Plucky Duck from Tiny Toons. How I Spent My Summer Vacation finally arrives to Happy World Land. Is everyone excited? Oh, I didn't know that. Man, maybe I should. That's why people are asking me to do How I Spent My Summer Vacation. I don't think I'll have it ready in time. I haven't watched that since it came out, I think. Although I heard Donald Glover's a big fan of it. I think he said the Robin season of Atlanta is based on that. Anyway, cheers to you, Toonjay723. That's very nice of you. Hello, William Ellman. What else? I think that's everything. Yes, right? Okay. Let's get into the things we do at the beginning. Yeah. Sorry. First off, I actually, before I get into what I usually say after this, I put out my review of Godzilla, or King Godzilla vs. Kong, as it's called, and it actually got immediately demonetized. It's not monetized, unfortunately. Which kind of stinks. That doesn't happen to me too often. Sometimes I was my older stuff, like my faster review, oddly, that happened a couple weeks ago. It's not something that happens to me a lot, but it did happen. It's hard out there making content, and because of that, I will say that pretty much everything I do is supported by viewers like you, either through super chats during the show. And thank you for the super chat, Nathaniel Fogo. Would you let her listen to the soundtrack? Yes, that is. I'm fine with the soundtrack. I don't think she would want to, but if she wanted to, sure. Cheers to you, Nathaniel Fogo. Good question though. Either through super chat, that example worked well. Super chats like that during the show, or which helps support, and I'll take a chug of Red Bull and keep my energy going. Or through my Patreon, which is linked below. It has all sorts of cool stuff, like my commentary series, where I go through things like Cletus the Fetus, which I just finished my commentary series of Cletus the Fetus, and I want to wear my Cletus the Fetus shirt on stream maybe next week. I wanted to do it this week, and I keep forgetting to get in the box and get it out and everything. I need to do that, so maybe next week, in honor of finishing another Cletus the Fetus thing. But the commentary series is pretty cool, going through past things and Buster. Going through past things. There's postcards, more power in the movie review votes, Skype calls, and everything like that. And it's a great way to support the show, to support me and support what I do and everything like that. And I thank you very much if you are financially able to do so. And yeah, it helps me run, helps me get new equipment, helps this computer go, and all that stuff. So thank you very much for your support if you're able to do so. If not, just liking, subscribing, watching this video in general. If you want to do anything else, that's cool. And additionally, I have a Facebook fan page, which I realize I really am never pushing, but all the videos that come out go there automatically. It's in the description if you didn't know about that. I have an Instagram, a Twitter, all that good stuff. Following and liking and all those things, or even just going to it and checking it out, helps me out. And thank you very much if you are able to do so. Is he done? I think he's done. All right. And also, if you like what goes on here during the chat and during the show, then I suggest checking out the Discord server, my Discord server that is run amazingly well by Austin and Zane Powers. We have all sorts of great things there, and they do a lot of great things. They did a movie night. They watched, I think it was Terror of Mechagodzilla, or was it Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla? I forget which one, but one of them. For no reason. I don't know why they would do that, just because Godzilla. That's it. And they did that. They do those movie nights on Fridays. There's all sorts of channels like, movie discussions, video game discussions, general Ask Jim, where you can ask me a question anytime and I will answer it. I think I'm actually up to date. Suggestions for Jim, all sorts of cool stuff. So join that. The link is also in the description. And Austin and Zane Powers always do a great job. Anyway, I really want a Knock for a shirt. Man, that would be cool. I would like one of those too. I don't think I've seen their bootleg ones, which I have asked them to take down. But if a fan comes up, I'm nice about it. But I make no money. Knockforce continues to be making no money forever. Or very little. Okay. First off, I think you know how I have to start this off. I think we all know how I have to start this off. And that's bringing it to the jam with the slam. I'm going to slam with the jam or whatever. It's that the trailer for Space Jam: A New Legacy dropped this morning. It was pretty epic that it happened. This trailer is, I would say, more about the spectacle of the new Space Jam than anything else. That was pretty much the priority. It's like, here's the basic plot. Look at all these things. We're done and we're out. Was it a great trailer in terms of advertising a movie? Well, for everyone on the internet that it was advertising to, yeah, it actually was. But if you're a normal person, you're like, what the fuck is this? And I think that's going to be an interesting thing, I think, with New Legacy, which I think, what's funny is, as big as Marvel and the idea of Marvel has become, and it's not because I'm a Marvel fanboy or something, I think that they're very good at selling to everyone. They're like, oh, well, no one knows who Iron Man is, no one knows who this is, so forth and so on. And so they very much sell it like that, unless it's like Endgame, which they've built up to. It feels like these other studios just feel like they can just rush to that. And I understand that this is sort of a follow-up, and Space Jam is very well remembered, but I wish it had sold like more of the Looney Tunes element, because all I got was like the LeBron James stuff and the spectacle. But there's a lot of thing in there. AT&T Warner Media Land from Downbox 64. Cheers to you. Thank you very much. That was funny. But I will say it was a lot of fun. I've always known Space Jam is a ridiculous commercial sellout thing, like since the beginning. I literally own shirts of the commercial before the movie, so I'm very well aware. I'm very well aware of what this is, and I accept it. People are saying like this one could be good. I'm always like, as good as a Space Jam movie can be. But I did find certain things interesting, that a lot of the Warner Media stuff, I know Disney's big stuff now is like mainly like bought, and that's how these empires work. But they have a lot of stuff that they own that they're known for. And Warner's kind of been all over the place, although they've had Warner Brothers stores and all that stuff before. But if you look at the list and like, who else could we get? It's like Superman, Gandalf, Iron Giant, and King Kong. And I was like, I think only one of those things were organically made by Warner Brothers. Everything else was bought. King Kong's RKO, Gandalf's Tolkien, Superman is DC, which they actually bought. I think it was kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting because even when you look at when he falls into the land, he goes by Game of Thrones. That's HBO. That's always been Warner Media. But um, goes through Wizard of Oz, which is actually MGM. Like it's famously MGM. If you think of like how the movie starts, it starts with a lion roar. So it that was interesting when you think about like the overall thing of Warner Media. Like several things they chose were things that they had actually purchased, not things that were always known to be Warner Media. But it is interesting. Almost everyone thinks of Wizard of Oz as Warner Media, even though like you don't even think of the Warner's logo when that comes up. And Ryan brings this up in the chat. There's no Cartoon Network characters. I agree that was lame because something like Adventure Time, which is a big brand, I saw Paley bring that up. Even Powerpuff Girls, things like that, which are more known for the Turner and the Warner Media brand, I think that would have been nicer. But I also think like we're not going to get that until the movie. But when we're looking at where this is in terms of okay. What I do think is like I wanted more of the Looney Tune stuff. I wanted you to sell me the Looney Tune element because the thing about Space Jam is it wasn't about seeing all these things with, in a movie together, because I think that aspect of it doesn't really make any sense to a modern audience because we always because they always because I feel like we've done these sort of things too much, from like Ready Player One, which was trending today, or Ready Player Two was, or Endgame and stuff like that. So it's not as exciting as it used to be. I like Zane Fire says, tell us the exciting story of how Warner's brought DC. I might make that into a segment, to be honest with you. I think I might do that at some point. Cheers to you. No, I know Warner's bought them, but it's still, not in Box 64, but I think having the element of like all these things together just doesn't phase audiences the way it did with like Roger Rabbit. But Roger Rabbit always had the thing to fall back on, that it's a really good movie. In addition, like if you look at Roger Rabbit, kind of one of the big things about it is there's so much amazing things going on at once. It's like kind of unbelievable. And it's funny that all these other movies like never got that, like Ready Player One, the plot doesn't work, things like that. And it looks like ugly CGS show. I wish they had really just sold the Looney Tunes stuff, because that's like what you're showing up for, and I don't know, but it is I did like when he goes through the Wizard of Oz land, he actually turns into a black and white like the movie. I actually like that. The Clockwork Orange thing is bizarre because it's just like I do not understand what they're trying to do with that one. I understand that that's a brand, like Kubrick is always such a brand, but it's like you took out Pepe Le Pew for like sexual harassment and stuff, and then you put in people who literally rape people in a movie, like famously. It's like pretty horrific, and you're like, let's put them in. That would seem to be like a huge miscalculation. Like the Thundercats were there, which is interesting because we'll be talking about that movie later. You saw the guys from Fury Road. Sinram has a super chat, says, great, now I have to wait until the end of the stream to see the Space Jam 2 trailer so I can see what everyone's talking about. Cheers to you. I'm surprised. I'm surprised you hadn't seen it, Sinram, but cheers to you. Thank you very much for the super chat. Yeah, it was like the Thundercats was like, oh, I guess is a priority. Iron Giant, I want to say this about the Iron Giant because I think it's sort of interesting. You're going to see, and this happens a lot with Ready Player One, and this is that people start talking about, oh, they're using Iron Giant inappropriately, and I'm sure they are. That's not what I'm debating. And people are like, oh, Warner Media never really marketed that movie well. I'm actually the guy who made a video about how did the Iron Giant bomb, and it's actually not necessarily Warner Brothers entirely. It's a lot of Brad Bird, like for real. So I'm not trying to push, like this isn't necessarily like a promotional thing, but if anyone's saying that like they sort of like never cared about it, they actually did. That's why they've also pushed it so much in its afterlife. But you can check that video out if you want to. But it is kind of interesting that they push that so hard. But it is a film, like it was mentioned in Ted Lasso. I constantly hear it referenced and things. So I'm sure they're looking at that. I didn't see the Bruce. I'll talk sort of about Butch Hartman later. Bruce Parker. But it was interesting. It was fun. I think it'll be like Space Jam. You're like, I can't believe all these things are sort of together, and I think they're just like overselling it. But I think like it still just looks like a silly thing. They need to get. I feel like the Space Jam fans are on board. They need to get everyone else. I think my version of Space Jam would have been better. Frankly, I don't know. Just like I don't understand why all these things. And like I posted this, I tweeted this earlier today, whereas like, and when I rewatched the trailer before the show, I really do think because they have all these properties in the Warner server or whatever it is, but by Don Cheadle, who looks like he's having fun. But good on Don Cheadle, because I just want to see Don Cheadle have fun. To be honest, like that's fine. I'm fine with that. If you have a good character actor having fun. But it seems like in this movie, like they are aware of Space Jam. Like this isn't, I think what this actually is this is not a sequel in the same universe as Space Jam. It is a movie in the universe of this movie. Space Jam exists. So it's actually not like the Space Jam in this universe is a movie. It's not like, oh, we're back to fight the Monstars and stuff. Although I will say, I'll get to the Space Jam site thing. Oh man, I keep forgetting stuff. Damn it. What was it about? Oh, well, read this. I still prefer Back in Action, though. Hashtag Frasier is king, not in Box 64. I think is probably the better movie, so I'll give that to you. Cheers to you, not Box 64. What was I going to say? I don't know. With the Looney Tunes? Who knows? Anyway. It was fun. But yeah, I think the whole idea of like, oh, now I remember what it was when he says like, let's just send them to the rejects, and he sends them to Looney Tunes. I was really like, if he sends them and the lunatics were there, I would have just fallen on the ground laughing. Like I really thought he was gonna send them to like a shitty property that Warner Media doesn't care about. It was like the fucking Shirk Tales, and he has to, like that they totally messed with us this whole time. And it's the Shirt Tails. Oh my god. Shirt Tails suck so bad. They're the fucking worst characters. Oh my god. I wish it was the Shirt Tails now. Sorry. Okay. Also, sorry. Okay. Sorry. I just lost it. Everyone can see the chat. All right. So the Space Jam website, there was concern about that. Here's the thing. You can tell people don't look things up before tweeting, because as soon as I saw like, oh, the Space Jam website, and the second tweet was like, you just click on this thing, it's still there. There's a couple things I don't get about that. Is, okay, so like, why have this new site? Do movies still have websites? Like, don't they just have like Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat accounts or whatever the fuck? Like, nobody cares about a movie website at this point. It's like not really understand. Like, why would you want that? Second is, I have a super chat. Hold on. 2J723 says the reject room is just a room with a cool guy. I would have liked that. He just falls into a room and he's like, hi, I think you want to go through that door. I'm just eating a Subway sandwich. Cheers to you, 2J723. Zane Powers, he gets sent to Battlefield Earth. Oh my god, I want to see what those other worlds are. I have a feeling he goes through a bunch of worlds and not just like two of them. But cheers to you, Zane Powers. But yeah, like, why have a new website? And then they preserve the site. It's like spacejam.com/1996 or something. I still think what they should have done, and I tweeted like the news section a picture of it, and it said there's no new news at this time. They really should have had a link to the trail. Like, that's how they should have announced it, like an hour before on the old website. Like, I think it was lame the way they did it. Like, they could have had a little more fun with it. Maybe they felt like, let's just preserve it. It'd probably be better to just preserve it But I think maybe what they could have done is like, let's preserve it, but make a new one that's in the style deal. Just felt like a real missed opportunity. But the website is still there. If anyone says they took it down and fuck them or something, they didn't. They don't have to preserve it. It's just because people like love that thing for no reason. Like it just is there another one that has another? It just I don't know. I don't get the whole thing with the like I don't know. To me, it's like have fun with it. It would have been so funny if it was news. Oh, there's a trailer for the sequel today or something. I think that would have been cool. And then we found out that Zendaya is voicing Lola Bunny, and Lola did apparently oppose, according to people who know what the sports are. That's like a reference to another basketball player. Maybe she did. Yeah, Zendaya. But we did see the Abominable or Smallfoot or whatever. No, they're not Abominable. Abominable's DreamWorks. It's like big Smallfoot was Warner. Abominable was better, whatever. But we did see them in the background, and then we found out after Ryan Walterson, of course, correctly said, was it Zendaya as Michi or whatever? And then Zendaya is in this movie as Lola, so I hope she voices Michi and Lola, and I hope LeBron comes back to voice whatever Gwangi or God, Smallfoot or whatever it is, Littlefoot. Who cares? That movie's. Does anyone? Everyone just remembers that for the Michi thing. Like that's the only thing that movie's remembered for. Is like, so if you're gonna have it, she has to be Michi, and that guy should be in it. He has an interesting Twitter account or YouTube account. I rewatched that video. That is a good video. But not plausible. That is a good observation. I'm surprised they let Yosemite Sam use real guns. That is true because in the new cartoons they do not let him use guns. Huh. That is very true. I didn't think of that. Thank you for that. That's actually interesting. Yeah, overall, I was slammed by the Space Jam or whatever. It was it was fun. I just it looks dumb to me. I don't know. It looks dumb, but the first Space Jam's dumb. So it looks like the kind of dumb that's fine. Anyone who's saying like this one might be good, I think is a little little ridiculous. I don't know. I don't get that feeling from it, but more power to you. So we also today got a trailer for Black Widow, which if there was ever a huge miscalculation in terms of when to release a trailer for a movie that was not Space Jam, wow, Marvel, like what? Like you couldn't know what, is there something happening next week? Like you had to do it today? I don't, it very much pushed the whole thing of like, this is a prequel. They're showing clips of her that they like digitally touched up and like showing like, no, she's dead, just so you remember. But this is before that and stuff. And you're like, all right, whatever. It didn't really. I think the thing with this movie is it's just like that trailer was not good enough, and it's almost like it was such an underwhelming trailer. But you also put it out today was a real stupid idea. I don't know. Oh yeah, there was the other thing. The other thing about the Space Jam thing is I will say this. I do think. I'm going to put this out there. Despite the shining sequence in Ready Player One, which I do think that is actually really good, I think Space Jam 2, or Space Jam A New Legacy, as some call it, will be better than Ready Player One. I feel like that's pretty plausible. Anyway, so I had probably the biggest tweet I've ever had this week. It was like 2,000 retweets, like 13,000 likes or something. It was kind of insane. And literally all I did was describe a thing I watched in a recent Angry Video Game Nerd movie. An Angry Video Game Nerd video. That's literally all it was. I even said that in the thread. I was like, I do not understand this at all. But I mentioned it to someone at work, and they were like, he was going to be a cameo in the Godzilla movie. But yeah, I don't get it. But to kind of reiterate this point and elaborate a little more on it, Yes, he said in his review of Godzilla vs. Kong that he was offered a cameo in Godzilla vs. Kong, but had to turn it down because I believe it was his second daughter or one of his kids was going to be born around that time, and he chose, and he did not want to go to shoot Godzilla vs. Kong, which on Twitter and will say now, I very much 100% agree with that. I was like, yeah, you can't be missing that, even if it's for an awesome cameo in a Godzilla movie, which I'm sure would have done a lot for him and his business. And I'm sure that's something like you thought later. But to me, it's like that's sort of like a no-brainer. You don't miss like the birth of one of your kids for anything, you know. So he, I totally agree with it. Reading into it more, I didn't know like his wife's had a lot of problems. Like these is public. I'm not trying to gossip. Is all out there. Has had trouble, like they had a lot of complications in the first birth and stuff like that, so I'm sure he was extra anxious. So even if it had just been, you know, I don't know when this was or the timeline, he was probably still nervous, and I feel bad talking about it because that's an awful thing to go through. And I also, apparently him and Adam Wingard have known each other for a while. I don't know if apparently he was offered a cameo in a different movie, and I was getting so many Twitter things like if I had to turn off my mentions because it's just gotten a little intense, but or turn off notifications on Twitter. But oh yeah, I don't know what other movie he was meant. If anyone knows, actually, I would be really curious what the other cameo he was offered would be. Was it like Death Note or Blair Witch? Maybe, I'm curious. So I don't know. I do think if Adam Wingard is ever on Angry Video Game Nerd, if someone would let me know, that would be awesome. Zayd Fire says, why wasn't Doug Walker their cameo second pick? Cheers to you, Zayd Powers. I don't think, does Doug Walker like Godzilla? Like, does Doug Walker like anything? I think he just likes Secret of Nim, and he's been like forced to make all these reviews. Force is VHS 2. Okay, that makes sense. I didn't know he was on Red Letter Media. That's interesting. But anyway, it was interesting going through that. But I just thought that was very honorable of him because that stinks. Although it's not a Toho Godzilla movie, so was it a big loss? I don't know. It was a good movie. I'm glad. But it was interesting, and I think in cases like that, you have to be there for your family in situations like that. And I think there's a lot of anxiety around that time. And it's like very weird feeling because your life's going to change and all those things. So I think I think I support that decision. It's just so weird because all I did was like, hey, there's this thing at the end of this video, and I didn't even have a clip to it, and it just keeps getting retweeted. It's weird. Anyway, so to follow up on the Lindsey Ellis thing from last week, and by the way, I'm not really I don't usually talk about internet people. This is not a drama channel, in case was that a concern or something. These are just because these are critic and movie related. If there are no movie critic related things, I probably will not talk about. I didn't think I'd be talking about him this week, but it was like so popular. I was like, well, I guess I should talk about it a little. So, I don't know. When it's relevant, I'll talk about it. It's basically the thing, but I just wanted to follow up on this. About an hour after the show last week, Lindsey Ellis went to her Patreon account and did post a post about what happened with her on Twitter, basically saying this had been kind of a long time coming, that she wanted to leave Twitter, which makes sense. She's had various issues from people harassing her and so forth, not to mention that whole movie bop thing. I'm sure that's nothing to do with it. That's the funnier part of it. But she basically apologized at the end. She sort of wants to make a bigger statement. I do think if she were to make a video explaining her point better and apologizing for it, I think that would have been a good thing. She does have like she makes the interesting thing about her and her team is it's not like when I work with Saber or I work with myself or I work on other channels and stuff like that. Like her team makes videos for like other channels, which is different than a lot of creators. Like you work on other people, and work in different aspects, but it seems like I don't know, that's always been strange to me, but that's just a different way of working. That's no controversial thing. But the It's Lit still went up. It seems like she's still making videos, but she apologized. I think it was about what I expected from it. But I agree. Let's just sort of leave her alone, and I hope things get better from there. And I agree with, to be honest, I think it's probably better for her in the long run, but I do think it was I wish she'd kind of come up with a better statement, because I don't like this whole narrative that I've seen through my last movie crap where people would respond and be like, oh, she shouldn't have had to apologize. I'm like, well, I'm not really against her. I just think you should apologize, because she did sort of just go pshaw to Rhea and Soul, and it's you're supposed to be this critic. Why don't you explain it better? That's to me it was kind of, I thought, just a disregard. That was my issue with it, but I don't have an issue with her. I still am going to watch the It's Lit. I'll still watch her content. I'm not against her, and especially all those people who are and now we'll take down Jenny Nicholson and Sarah Z, and I'm like, what? I don't think Sarah Z knows Lindsey Ellis. What is the connection there? I know she sort of likes Lindsey Ellis, but that's clearly sexist to such a fucking degree. Holy shit. I was just you're just naming random women? That's not even. And then I did enjoy Jenny Nicholson on Sunday when, okay, I'm going to watch Ryan's Dragon with the Elsa dragon. And that was funny. I did like that she, basically, she was I found out this dragon turns into a human, so I turned this movie off. I was she did it the funny way, where she did acknowledge it, but still, leaned in. That was clearly a choice, and that was funny. Kudos to her, because I was laughing at, there were definitely people upset that she, was not even acknowledging what was going on. And I need to watch the new Sarah Z video. I saw she got a haircut. It looks cool. All right. We got a bunch of trailers this week as well. I am going to do a trailers and things later, but these are more of the trailers that you probably want me to talk about. Mitchell's, who is Sarah Z? Look her up. She's awesome. They're longer videos, so if you're not into that kind of content, but an hour or plus so, but I think Lindsey is a patron of Sarah Z. I didn't know that. Well, Sarah Z's really good. So, but Austin, I think you would like Sarah. It's just longer stuff. Her thing on DashCon was pretty good, and her thing on Twilight was good. I have not watched a lot of her stuff. I don't think I liked the one that was the problem with media critics. I think I didn't like that one, but I like the other. Anyway, she's good. I generally watch her a lot. Yeah, she does do a lot of Tumblr stuff, but I really like Tumblr, so to me it's this is great. All right, sorry. I will be talking about Adult Swim soon. Just give me a minute. I actually have a breakdown of the Adult Swim April Fool's thing. So if you are he's just gonna mention it, I actually really went deep on it, because is Cornbread here? I forget if I've seen Cornbread. Cornbread was very much wanted me to talk about it at length. I was like, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna do that. So it might be a segment later. Don't know. But let me get through just 2 trailers, and then we'll talk about April Fool's stuff. So, Mitchell's vs. Machines, we got that trailer. We finally got a look at it. It looked very Spider-Verse-ish. Of course, it's Phil Lord, Chris Miller. It looked like a lot of fun. Even though it's an end-of-the-world apocalypse kind of thing, I wasn't thinking about how I've seen that plot before or anything. I was thinking about how awesome and inventive and fun it looked, which I think says a lot about what this will possibly be. It just looks exciting. It looks like a really fun animated film. I'm excited to see it. I've been wanting to see this movie for a while, but seeing the trailer, we have the hype of a certain movie. We end up talking about a movie forever, and then you see the trailer and you're like, oh, what? And in this, I didn't feel that way. In this, I felt the excitement. So there was also Connected. There was also a Rick and Morty season 5 trailer. I think we all thought because of when this dropped that we were going to get a a new episode of Rick and Morty on April Fools. I think even Adult Swim tried to preface people like it's not going to happen. Everyone's like, sure, it's not. And Adult Swim was like, no, really, like no, I know it's April Fools, guys, but please. Nattenbox 64 says, worst piece of editing in a movie scene, me, the infamous basketball scene from Catwoman. I would go with the Bohemian Rhapsody thing. I think that was, I know that's a modern one, but that was pretty bad. But that scene is up there too. Thank you for the super chat, Nattenbox 64. Cheers to you. But the Rick and Morty season 5 trailer was really good. It looks like it's more of the family together, less of the splitting up thing. I think that might work better, especially because it has felt like the show doesn't necessarily know where to go at this point. So I think that might actually work out better for the show. Because I think a thing with comedy, when everything's unexpected, you kind of it gets a little stale after a certain point. So I think maybe they're looking at like how to do things with the show, and I thought like that's an interesting direction, and I'm hyped for it. And I would like more Rick and Morty. They have like a 70 episode. They had a 70 episode pickup, but they didn't say how many seasons. It feels like it's going to be around for a lot of seasons, but this seemed like a good natural evolution of the show. I'm excited to see the season. It looked really cool. It looked like a cool way to take it, having them all together like that. Who knows if it's really the whole season or it's just like one episode and they're teasing us or something, but it looked very cool. All right, so April Fools had a lot of things. Cartoon Network had their Cat 2 Network, which was fine. I don't think anyone really liked that one that much, because I think the problem is even though Cartoon Network has probably, I want to say, my favorite April Fool's thing of all time, the Screwy Squirrel cartoon, but I don't think, because Lazo and all them are doing things elsewhere, it seems like they can't live up to that. But Cartoon Network was fun. It was fine. Oh, hey, John Barton says, just saw a live stream of the Feels Good Man film. Highly recommend. Okay. That's interesting. Thank you for the recommendation. Cheers to you. Okay. So, sorry, I dropped something. Yes, the cat stuff was cute. It was cute. It was nice for a kid's channel. It was nothing that surprising. I probably should give it a little more credit, but anyway. Yeah, why wasn't Rick and Morty in Space Jam 2? You would have thought, because of how big they are, that they would get that, but oh well. All right. So let's break down Adult Swim Junior, and I am actually going to break down. I'm actually going to go through almost every show was on here. Sorry, there's one note. So basically what happened was I turned on to Adult Swim because you have to do that on April Fools and see what they're going to do. It was not as epic as the one last year where we got Primal and we got, and we also got Smiling Friends, and it was pretty crazy everything we got last time. This one was fun and interesting and ended up being very critical of Cartoon Network. I think, and a lot of people haven't mentioned this because I really went through the promos today and tried to find any things, but they actually said, one of the little kids they actually said this line. It says, that's why the geniuses at our network made a safe place just for kids, which is like the most fuck you line you can possibly think of. Like, holy shit. They really did not hold back on really criticizing Cartoon Network which is like, that's what this was. It's like making fun of them for turning Cartoon Network into a little kids thing. I'm sure because Mike Lazar's been, which I'm pretty sure he's still there, just because he's been at Cartoon Network so long, he's probably like, fuck you guys, you're ruining this brand. But basically they turned Adult Swim into a safe place for little kids, like Adult Swim Junior. They had ads, basically new ads for almost every Adult Swim original program, from Space Ghost to Boondocks to everything like that. And then they had 2 episodes of Rick and Morty, Total Rick-all, redubbed with little kids, and same with Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Revenge of the Mooninites. Am I right about that? Yes. Revenge of the Mooninites as well. And then I think we thought they were going to do more of those, and then they just didn't. They just replayed the Rick and Morty thing, and then the Aqua Teen thing, and that was it. And it was done. That was a little disappointing. I will say this: they put there's like a lot of things in this. It's not just a simple, it's not just a simple thing to have done, I don't think. But I kind of wish they had maybe, I think they probably put more effort into just this one, actually, than the Post Malone one. It seems like they just put Post Malone in front of a green screen, just like aired stuff they had. There's not as much effort as they put into this, if you really think about it. But, Austin says, that's the way the news goes. Cheers to you. We killed a Red Bull. But I wanted to go through. I generally liked it, by the way, since I watch a lot of children's programming. I can tell you that it very much felt at home with that. They did an excellent job. But I want to go through everything that I could find, every show that became a little kidified for this. Obviously, Rick and Morty, or Rick and Morty Babies, and Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which I like the Aqua Teen theme remix better than the Rick and Morty one, which was reanimated with babies. That they clearly put a lot of effort in, but I like the remix of the Aqua Teen theme song. But they also have, I can't say this show, Gemusu Machu preschool intro. That was like the only really major thing that was animated new, that was like longer. But in the promos they had a couple different versions of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which they also called Aqua Child Hunger Force, which is kind of funny. They had 2 different animated character design versions of Ball Masters. One was Bouncy Ball Masters, one was a better animated Ball Masters, which confused me. I thought it was like a different show or something. They had Space Ghost. One was like Space Ghost being a little kid playing with crayons and Zorak. The other was a different design, which they called Space Ghost Crib to Crib, where they had Zorak in his larval stage, and Moltar like drops his drink on the control panel and stuff. So it was like, I noticed like they clearly had different animation houses working on this, which was kind of interesting, because if you watch all the promos, you notice differences in there. And I'm wondering if like they had several people audition, or the reasons behind that, or they just thought like, oh, well, let's have, I don't know why they did that. They turned the Venture nephews was interesting, because at first they had Brock and Dr. Venture as kids, but then they had Hank and Dean as babies in a later promo, which that I thought was cool. So if you watch the 45 minutes, there was some things in there, like Squidbillies was so like Squidbillies became Kidbillies. You got some footage of that. You got Super Jail turned into Super Juvie. Harvey Birdman was Harvey Birdman Junior Associate. You had Metalocalypse Babies, which that was animated in 2 ways. You saw the band performing, animated one way, and then you saw them in a crib, animated a different way, which I think, like some said, the simplified art style was, I think Kevin in Roundtable said that, was to make a comment on current Cartoon Network and when they do their reboots. I think that was sort of it. I think that was what was going on. As well as they did 2 different promos with 12-ounce mouse, which I actually liked. One was just the Fitz like drinking milk, and the other with the eye creature where he says, I'm so glad, which was just sounded like a kid show, which was funny. Laser Wolf was turned into Laser Pups, and then they had the live action ones, which was Children's Hospital, but it said this time the doctors are children, which I thought that was funny. Tim and Eric, awesome youth, great bath, and then Eric Andre nap time show. It was interesting, and the promos were interesting. They had one thing was like from the cradle to the grave, from the cradle to the grave, from diaper to diaper, That was a good quote. The world is a big place, so we made it just a little bit smaller. And then they had two of those T-Rex commercials, hearing little kid stories, one about old French fries, one about a kid telling you about the Illuminati, and then one about the best breakfast, which was chocolate cake, chocolate milk, sugar, and chocolate. This was, I think, over, and it was presented, of course, and then the banana, the robot saying the knock knock banana orange knock knock joke, and the kitties and the bubbles and the sandcastles. It was an involved joke. I think when I really went through the whole thing and realized how much work they had done into it, I kind of appreciated it a little more because, again, like I do actually think it they put more effort into it than the last one. It's just like, because I think all they said was like, hey, Gendy is primal ready, and hey, we have the Smiling Prince pilot, and they let Post Malone get drunk in front of a blue screen. I feel like he does that anyway, so like, how much effort, if we really think about it? It was just that one was a little cooler and more involved and like kept you up watching TV forever, and this one just didn't do that, unfortunately, unless like if anyone was still watching Adult Swim at that point. But I do think it could have been longer, but we should give Adult Swim credit for doing that. I think it was kind of a fun April Fool's thing. I don't know if it was like, we'll do a lesser one and then the next time we'll like release tons of stuff and talk all this craziness. And it did feel like last time we were talking about that drop for weeks. And this, I feel like we're already sort of not talking about as much, but it was a kind of a good gag. I like that they made fun of what's going on with Warner Media and Cartoon Network, and it was a cool statement. So I appreciate Adult Swim Junior for what it is, but I still kind of wish we got a little more of it. So, all right. If that becomes a different thing, we'll see. I'm not sure. Primal Babies. I like that, Austin. They also had the big Chungus Bugs Bunny character is a part of this game or something. I was confused about that. There was a Patrick Star Full House theme that someone made. And then Anna Tunes did this thing with Butch Hartman. I don't like him, and I saw some of his tweets, and I could give a fuck about that guy. I don't know what politically, I think he should maybe not speak about anything like that, because he clearly doesn't really seem to know what he's talking about, and clearly thinks it's okay to retweet some racist things. So I'd much rather ignore him entirely. Anyway, so YouTube wants to take away a dislike button. So if you haven't liked this video, I guess, I think this is a really stupid idea, because like the way the algorithm works, I just think it just sort of stupid. I think it's like YouTube, the like dislike button is a good way. Nice discuss spider. It's just a nice way to let you know like how someone feels about a video. I think it works better for this format. I think it was a dumb idea to get rid of it. And I don't know what YouTube's doing, but that's typical of YouTube, to like mess with the like dislike ratio button. But I just think, it's like just a good way for people to support creators. It's hard enough to make videos. Don't take away more stuff from that. So anyway, yeah. I forgot to mention the O-Axis video. Yeah, the O-Axis top 5. That was a fun April Fool's thing. I do like doing April Fool's content because I make a lot of stuff, and it's kind of fun to have like this one weird video. And I especially think it's fun when you go back and watch them and you're like, what's this, like watching the DVD thing, you stumble upon it. And I think I've only done 3 April Fool's jokes. So I might do another one next year. I kind of have a really cool idea for next year, but we'll see about that. But I think it's always fun to do that. Check out that O-Axis video, I guess. What? Maybe will I do an update version of every Adult Swim show? No, probably not. And a reaction channel? No, I don't really do reaction stuff. Sorry. I talk about it here, but so we got 2 Star Wars news. We have the Star Wars Vintage Collection on Disney Plus, which has the Ewoks movies, the short from the Star Wars Holiday Special, things like that. That was a cool idea. I think it is a good, a Clone Wars got on there as well. I like how they marketed it and had everything. The I thought it was good marketing, a way to like get on the good side of fans, everything like that. I liked how they did it. I thought it was good. Oh, Sidram has a super chat that says, as you were speaking, the one dislike on this stream vanished. I didn't see the dislike. That's interesting. But no, damn it. Well, cheers to you. Well, nobody disliked it. That hurts my feelings. Likes make me feel strong, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, cheers to you, Sidram. I missed that dislike. Damn it. All right. Let's see. Where are we? Okay. So Adam went out. See, there's the dislike. Adam Wingard, who's been in the new, obviously, because he directed the biggest movie around right now, King Godzilla vs. King Kong, came out that he is doing a Thundercats movie. The Thundercats movie will be live action, and apparently he's been obsessed with Thundercats since he was a kid, even in high school, writing a huge screenplay based on the Thundercats, which is pretty insane. I think based on what I saw in Godzilla vs. Kong, he will make a good Thundercats movie. I think it's a really good idea because, especially after watching that, if he had, before I saw the movie, I was like, I don't know. But then when I saw the movie, I was like, I think he can do it. And especially since he has a real love for it. And I also got to say, I'm someone who watched the original, watched the, whatever, the 20, whatever it was, and then watched some of Thundercats, but not all of it. I think the fandom of Thundercats is interesting because the older people just seem to be happy if there's any Thundercats things, and it's like the 2010s fans seem to be the weirder ones, which is interesting. And I think they'll be there for it. I think honestly most of the old school Thundercat fans are getting a little old, but I think it could be a fun brand if he has a real love for it. I think that could be really cool, and he has the right sensibility for it, especially after watching Godzilla vs. King Kong. I think he'd be actually a really good blockbuster director after watching that. I think he's like perfect for right now, so that could be really awesome. So this was probably one of the biggest stories of the week, but it says a lot about what's going on in the industry and what happened post. To any Star Wars director, is probably the most successful deal I've heard of in a long time. But what's interesting is it's not a deal of someone doing a Marvel movie. It's not of someone, signing an exclusive deal with a company. And it shows you a different way of doing it. And I applaud Rian Johnson for doing that. And that, of course, is the reported $450 million deal to bring Knives Out 2 and 3 to Netflix, with Daniel Craig returning. He will be in both. He's the only character who's going to be in all of them. Now, why did this happen basically the way it did? Supposedly Rian Johnson, who licensed the rights to Lionsgate, he always owned the rights to the film with his producing partner. So he owns the rights to Knives Out. He clearly learned something from George Lucas and was like, well, if I own the rights to my own property, that puts me financially in a great space. Obviously, they weren't going to make Knives Out merch. Did they? I don't think they did. But that makes me laugh for some reason. But because of that, and that film was a hit and did fairly well, he could go to a different distributor next time if he would like to. And when he did, he looked at Apple, he looked at Amazon. I think he looked at Peacock. That might sound like a joke, but he has a property, that Natasha Lyonne show at Peacock that just went forward. He went to a bunch of streaming services and see if they were interested. Now, how this, I think, becomes $450 million, which is insane, is not just because the popularity of Knives Out, but also you're paying the back end of both Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig, and based on 450 for those two movies, guessing that they're both about 225 a movie. Since the first one was like 40 million, a lot of people are saying I don't think they these would get to 100 million, but you're paying out Daniel Craig's payout. Who Daniel Craig's a big star. He can demand those sort of things. Rian Johnson's last 2 movies were big hits. He got an Oscar nomination, all that. Good. Lionsgate is trash anyway. Cheers to you, Dan64. And I don't know what streaming service Knives Out. I think it was on Netflix, but that's a movie that gets discussed a lot on social media. It gets watched a lot. We hear a lot of big things about it. So I think they looked at probably the rewatchability of something like Knives Out and went, this is something we want on the service. This is something we want the franchise on the service. It'll help us out. And I think it works. It's interesting to think of the Rian Johnson of it and the Daniel Craig of it. With Daniel Craig, he has been trying to get a franchise that is not James Bond for about 10 years now. He tried, and he's had like earnest, really good attempts, and it has not worked out with The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I think he thought it was going to be a franchise. They never made another one. And same with The Cowboys and Aliens, which I know became a meme because of my last April Fool's joke. But the thing about that is, it had Steven Spielberg, Ryan Howard, Jon Favreau. I'm sure he thought that would be a franchise too, and it didn't work out for him. As well as Olivia Wilde. In 2011 or something, everyone thought she was going to be the biggest movie star in the world, and it didn't, because of Tron Legacy and Cowboys and Aliens. It didn't work out that way. But it's interesting how trades change. Change on people. But I think it definitely works out for him because now he has his post-Bond route, which he almost didn't do this movie. This movie only worked out with him because he had some time off because of the delays of Danny Boyle's No Time to Die. And then Rian Johnson, I know I put on Twitter a comparison between him and J.J. Abrams, but I gotta say, what is interesting about Rian Johnson is I can't think of a more normal filmmaker that people find divisive, because he's not. His films don't feel divisive to me. I generally like them. I've been liking his movies. Like I saw Brick in theaters and stuff. So I'm like, I go way back, like, whatever that means. People are all, I notice so much conflict. Like some people love Knives Out, some people hate it. I'm fine. It's a fine movie. I think it's decent. I don't love it as much as everybody that's the extreme people, but I also don't hate it that much either. But it's interesting that he's such a divisive, like people get weird about his movies, those last 2 movies, which is very strange. But he was smart because look, everybody else who does franchise stuff doesn't do the original thing. They go to another franchise thing. They take a while to because the studio basically ripped them apart and they have to figure out who they are or something. I don't know what happens to him, but he played the game. And despite having a film that we still hear people make long ass rant videos about for some God knows reason, he made an original thing, and now he's made a bigger deal than J.J. Abrams, who his deal with Warner apparently is $250. He has huge back end deals, but he's not making that huge money off of an original property. In fact, we're not talking about J.J. Abrams making a J.J. Abrams produced original film. He's only made one original film, and that missed the mark, which was Super 8, which I think he was a little too early with that one and picked the wrong era. It's interesting that Stranger Things basically did what he did better. But J.J. Abrams could never get Killers of the Flower Moon that now Scorsese's doing. He wanted to do it DiCaprio and it didn't work out. He could never get that post-Star Wars movie going, and now he's at Warner's with a lesser deal. So I think it shows you what really people want in this age. Everyone's going franchise. You have to do, or not franchise, sorry, they're going IP, and all this stuff. They do want IP. They want new IP, because new IP is more valuable than, Adam Wingard doing a Thundercats movie is really cool, but if The Guest became a franchise, that would be more valuable to a streaming service, and he owns the rights to it. So Rian Johnson, genius right there. But J.J. Abrams, I think it's interesting to see where they both fell, and especially because Abrams apparently didn't like what Rian Johnson. He both promoted Rian Johnson and didn't like him, which is interesting. And it's kind of interesting to see where they came up. I'm sure nobody thinks that, but it's just interesting to see the comparisons between the two. It's also, so George Lucas said something, and I wanted to talk about it. I keep forgetting to talk about it. He said there was a Zoom call he did for a school, and it came out, and he said something about basically like, oh, well, when Star Wars was taken from me, Star Wars was not. He should not be saying it that way. Star Wars was not taken from him. He got like billions of dollars and Disney stock, and it was not taken from him. It's when you willingly give up your intellectual property, you don't say it was taken from me. It was like, of course, creatively they're not going to do what you want. Like, no fucking duh. Like, it's just like he needs to stop saying that because he's just like adding fuel to like fires of people that don't need it. So I want to talk about some stuff with DC, but I want to talk about the Nielsen's first. First, Raya came in about fourth with the Nielsen streaming ratings. I think that's actually rather good for something that costs about $30 in comparison to like all movies on streaming, to be honest. It's not number one, but it still costs $30, and everything else on there is free. To be fourth is actually pretty good. What does that exactly mean? I don't know, but to me, that means good. I think it's also the thing with Raya should have been free because Raya is not an IP the way Mulan is, or Black Widow, or whatever their other things, everything, or Cruella. Those are named properties. Raya wasn't, and I think much like Soul or Luca, if you're an original thing, I think that would work out. I will get to that Pixar thing a little later, but I think honestly, if it's an original thing, they should have had it be free because it can spread the word on it and they can be able to make more things with it. But whatever. So DC is kind of clearing out their slate, and you're seeing a lot of people say, oh, the Snyderverse is so popular. We do not have official Nielsen ratings on that week yet. They're not out for streaming. They're just not there. So anyone saying like, oh, it's this so popular, there are a certain amount of signups, but that doesn't mean shit. So like in a certain regard, like once we have the ratings, and for everything I've heard is they're not that great, that we need to calm down with that shit. But as they're clearing things out, this has been a major confusion among people. New Gods, shut up, Buster. Sorry. New Gods was canceled, as well as The Trench this past week. Everyone's blaming the Snyder Cut for this and that. It's actually the Snyder Cut's fault, but I don't think as much as people say it is, because New Gods was going to have Darkseid in it, and they feel that because he was introduced in the Snyder Cut, they can't go through with it. I think that was one of many reasons, but New Gods and The Trench. Good night, Paige Howard. Thank you for being here. New Gods and The Trench were riskier endeavors. And these studios have gone through a really rough year in terms of, the movie business has been rough. And trying to do like a weirder DC movie at this time is not going to work. As well as like they lost several months. They have to prioritizing things. It just, to me, doesn't really work. I just don't think it's really the Snyder Cut's fault as much as like they're like, look, we can't spend over $150, yes, just $150 on a New Gods movie. Sorry, $150 million on a New Gods movie right now. It's just not financially viable, and I think it is more to do with that, and people going, oh, it's the Snyder Cut, or oh, they're rejecting the fans, or all the, like, fuck that. It's not that. Like, this is not the kind of thing people get in line for. It's not going to drive big numbers anyway. They're risky endeavors. They're just cutting risky things, and that's all this is. It does stink that you have two filmmakers of color, basically, but at the same point, like, Ava DuVernay, I think will be fine. James Wan will be fine. I think The Trench could have been cool. I think New Gods could have been cool, especially what she did with Wrinkle in Time. But it worked out that way. I think it sort of stinks, but I think DC is sort of really trying to get their thing back in line. And I will say they are kind of putting out this public message of, we are trying to change things and streamline things. And the people who are upset about the Snyderverse thing are correct. They are purposely saying that, but it's not a vast conspiracy. They're just like trying to realign things based on like a pretty crazy year. I have a super chat from St. Paris says, so when are they releasing the air cut? Apparently never, but cheers to you anyway, St. Paris. As well as we got a date for Black Adam, which, did they really like shut down all the view screens on Times Square? I wasn't there when they did it, but I think it was just an image. I forget what the date is. It's like 2022. People are saying Superman's going to be in it. Sure, why not? I think it's just, that's going to be a big movie because The Rock's in it. That's the only reason that character got to live on, because the Warner's wants to have a hit with The Rock. Oh, Zane Power says, real talk, I heard people thinking that this is because of Ray Fisher going against Warner as the reason it's being canceled. No, I have heard that too. Zane Powers. Cheers to you again. He really wasn't have anything to do with that. I don't think he was going to be involved. But yeah, people are getting really heated about it. And I will say the only voice of reason in this was Perry Nemiroff, who was basically like, the industry's changing, and she's 100% right. It's like, they're not going to do risky superhero movies that cost like hundreds of millions of dollars. That is 100% what I think this really is. And I think they probably also said, and the dark side thing, right? That thing too, maybe. And like, people just latched onto that. But I'm sure, bottom line, they could give a fuck for the most. I think the dark side thing actually makes it more financially viable because you know who dark side is. You know what I mean? Or Seed or whatever the fuck. Anyway, cheers to you. Nattenbox64, what do you think of Casey Musgraves? I like her. I only know her Christmas special on Amazon because we watch it a lot during Christmas. I don't know her other music as well, but I really enjoy her Christmas special on Amazon Prime, like, a lot. We watch it a lot, so. But she seems like a nice lady. I enjoy her singing. Cheers to you. Sorry. Keep dropping stuff. Okay. But anyway, DC's figuring itself out. It is a conspiracy, but it's a conspiracy to make those things make sense. Okay, sorry. So there was this tweet that came out that says, just talk to a Pixar friend who says Luca and Soul moves to Disney Plus have been demoralizing for employees. Forget theaters. We're not even good enough for an upcharge. I disagree, because I think it is much better. Like, people actually know about your movies, and it's a big difference in terms of, I just think, first off, there's no source on this. It's like, I could just say, your friend at Pixar, like, who is it? I'm like, well, he's a guy who shows up twice a week and is a consultant there. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's how it's so unsourced. I don't necessarily agree with it. And I think Pixar should look at, like, financial, like, look at what Raya's going through, although it's still very successful, frankly. But look at, like, how much more discussion there is of Soul than Raya. I mean, I think the biggest discussion with Raya was last week with Lindsey Ellis, and that has more to do with her than the movie. And I do think it'll help the reputation. Like, Soul, we're going to hear about for, like, in 10 years. I don't know about, like, Mulan or things like that. I think it helps these films. So I think there's, I don't think that's, I don't agree with it, and I don't know if it's really true. So, the Belle trailer, this is from Mamoru Hosoda. This looks really cool, and there hasn't been enough about this, and someone in the Discord actually told me about this. So, thank you to them. I forget who it was. I apologize right now, because I hadn't heard about it, so I will tweet about it, actually, because I don't think anyone, like, I'm surprised, like, Paleo hasn't tweeted about this, or I feel like people should know about that. Oh, hello. Rocket Duck 413 says, it's been too long, got a new job, going to listen on my way home Saturdays now, miss being here for a live stream. Oh, I missed you too, Rocket Duck 413. Thank you for the super chat. That's very generous of you, and cheers to you. Thank you very much. But yeah, so the Belle trailer came out. It's basically about, I thought I copied it. Well, okay, now I have to paraphrase because I forgot to put this in my notes. Basically about a girl who, after the death of her mother, can't seem to sing, but she's able to sing through this, like, online persona, basically like a VTuber kind of thing. And in the online world, and this is really cool, guess who did the backgrounds for the online world? Cartoon Saloon. So it's a Mamoru Hosoda Cartoon Saloon collaboration. This sounds really cool. The trailer looked gorgeous. I like Mirai. I like The Girl Left Through Time, which is a movie I'm totally excited to actually show Sophie when she's older. I think that's like a 9-10-year-old movie. That movie that's a good family movie, but it's just like not for a 4-year-old. But maybe I'll watch Mirai soon. Again, anyway. But I think this movie looks great. We should be talking about this movie more. I need to, like, tweet about it to, like, let people know. But this is, like, a movie I'm really anticipated for. He's gotten, like, other animators to work for Disney. He's, like, really doing a different thing. I kind of like what I like about him, this director, is like there's a time where like everyone's like he's gonna be the next Miyazaki, and then he had that film before Mirai, like A Boy and a Beast or whatever, and that clearly like did not go the route people wanted it to. And as soon as like people drop that, uh, uh, is it Mirai? Am I saying it right? I think I'm saying it right. That film was really interesting. I like him doing whatever the fuck he wants because he's so much more interesting when we just don't consider him to be like he's gonna be Ghibli or something. So this is really interesting. I like what he's doing. I like him working with Cartoon Saloon. This is a really fascinating movie. It looks like up to date and everything like that. So I'm really curious about this film. I don't know when it comes out to America, but I think I'm excited. This is the movie to watch right now, in my mind. To watch, like, see what's going to happen and see it. I have high hopes. Russell Crowe's going to be in Thor 4. They saw him, and it's going to be a cameo. Not much else to say there. So Transformers, this is sort of, there's like minimal Transformers news this week, but I just wanted to like break down like what the fuck's going on with Transformers because it's mad confusing. We need to hurry this up. Probably should have cut this, but whatever. Transformers cast Anthony Ramos, who is the star of In the Heights. A lot of studios really want him there. He's going to be a star of what is considered Transformers 7, or the follow-up to the next sequel in the Transformers, whatever it is, which is directed by the guy who directed Creed 2. There's the other Transformers. There's another Transformers movie which might be Beast Wars. We're not sure. There's also an animated Transformers movie with Josh Cooley who did Toy Story 4, and there's a Nickelodeon show. These are all Transformers movie things happening at the same time. I sort of wanted to clarify that because I saw an article it broken down for me, and I thought like, oh, that's interesting that like we're going in all these different directions. So it seems like they're doing a lot with Transformers. I'm curious like how they're going to differentiate it, but it seems interesting things are afoot. We'll see if it turns out that way, but we'll see. All right, so Fox is actually making an adult animation division, or Disney really, who runs Fox, so Simpsons and all that stuff is under a thing. I think this will actually be good for the brand or the company overall because it'll help to actually have someone in charge of those things. That's basically how Disney works. You have your Feiges, you have your executives, Kathleen Kennedy, so forth, who are in charge of different kind of studios or brands or whatever. And I think it helps them differentiate themselves. And I think this is actually a really good thing for the studio at large that someone was promoted to that and that they've launched the studio. Her name is Marcy Perret. So yeah. Pam Bennett, I keep seeing this thing about I do not know what Adult Swim is going to do. I think they'll do a few more premieres next time, and it'll probably be something like that. So I'm sorry I don't have much more, but we'll see. You want to be surprised next year, you know? So we'll see what happens. I kept getting these. And Bless the Hearts was canceled. I've never seen that show, so R.I.P. I keep seeing people wanting me to talk about American Pie 5. I do not like those movies, so I don't get it. But supposedly there might be a script according to Tara Reid, so I don't understand why it's a franchise. I don't get it. You probably never want me to review American Pie because I'm not gonna like it. Blue Sky. There were two things about it. That there was the talent exodus, basically from Connecticut, because of the studio shutting down. You're seeing a lot of jobs going to like other very coveted jobs at Pixar, Disney Animation, and so forth. There's also a thing with taxes. So I don't think this is what we think it is. I think it might just be a clarification or basically just getting tax breaks a different way after a certain time. I don't think it's like really a tax fraud. I'm not a tax lawyer or an entertainment tax lawyer or know much about those fucking things. But to me, it's just like you just change your clarification to save some money or something. I don't think Disney really ended them because of the tax thing. I think Disney ended them because they had too much going on and they have to like cut spending. So I'm not exactly sure what Cartoon Brew is doing there. It just seems like, and they were like, well, this is the only thing it could be. And so I don't think it is, I don't think it's worth the doing a post about it. It's like this company's over. Like unless Disney said we did it for the tax things, I don't get it. This is the weirdest thing, animation thing, really. Illumination is actually working with a Los Angeles based streetwear brand to produce Mutant Sequencer, a series of 5 animated shorts, each produced by Braindead's cutting edge artists and designers. I did not get to, I watched some of the first short. These are not like Illumination at all. These are interesting, weirder, cooler animated shorts. And this is an interesting thing for Illumination to do, because if I were to think of a cool animation studio, Illumination would never be on that list. So I'm interested to what this means and what they're doing. I might do at the end of when they're all out, do like a review kind of thing of all of them, because I find it to be such a fascinating thing. And no one's watching it. Like this short had 2,000 views on YouTube, which shows you that like no one knows what's going on. But it's like the fact that Illumination is working with a streetwear brand to make something different. Like I applaud them, because this is not something that artistically it's very different. And I think that's really cool of them. So I never think think of Illumination really. I just think of them as big sellout brand, but I appreciate what they did there. Let's see, so Laika is doing a live action film. It's called 17. What exactly is the deal with this? We don't really know. First off, we don't know what is going on with this film at all. What the plot is, we just know it is a thriller, and we know Laika's going into it. What I think really Laika's probably thinking is if they make a couple horror films or thrillers that are cheap enough, they can get some revenue going. Because let's be honest, and I said this before, like stop motion really needs to go with streaming, because it's hard enough. It seems like Aardman and Netflix have a very close arrangement. Laika has not done that, and it seems like, I'm not sure why, maybe they feel like they lose control or something. It's an interesting thing to do, because I think the only one who ended up going in live action ended up being Disney way back when, and now look where that's gone. So I think it'll be interesting to see. We don't really know what this is about, other than it's a thriller and it's called 17. And obviously Travis Knight went into live action, but we'll see from there. Primal is getting a Blu-ray release. That sounds really cool, of season 1. So basically all the episodes that have aired, because it's all considered season 1. We got 2 casting for the Powerpuff Girls live action CW show. Donald Faison as Professor Utonium. I think that sounds cool. He's a cool actor. I feel like everyone was like, I noticed a lot of like, who cares? Oh, he's so over kind of things. I thought that was good casting. He's a fun guy, as well as Nicholas Ponde as Mojo Jojo. Apparently Mojo Jojo is not a monkey in this or something. That seems pretty stupid to me. Why would you want him to be human? It seems dumb. Like, are the Amoeba Boys just going to be like normal people? Like, why would I want that? I don't really get this show, but I haven't seen it, so I'm very curious to see that pilot. And a bunch of these are probably just really quick things, to be honest. Maybe this is just like a really long trailers and stuff. Is it? No, not really. Well, these are just some quick news things, I guess. Monster Pets, which is a short from the Hotel Transylvania universe, is playing before Cinemark theaters. It seems like just anything. They didn't specifically say where or what movie, but that's kind of cool. Stephen Young is going to be in Jordan Peele's next kind of mysterious movie with Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer. We don't officially know what that's going to be about, but good for him for getting that big role. Sylvester Stallone has written a Rocky prequel series idea. Sure, man. And then Kevin Lima, who directed the Goofy movie and several others, is working on a Quinceanera film called Quinceanera X, which is kind of a musical about a quinceanera kind of thing. It sounds actually pretty cool, because I think he's a cool director. So, as well as it was announced the Batman animated movie Long Halloween, with actually Naya Rivera doing a voice, which was surprising considering that she is not alive. So they clearly recorded these a while ago. Obviously they want this because of the new Batman movie that Matt Reeves is directing. I'm kind of curious to see that film, and interested to see her in that film. It'll be interesting. So we got a couple delays. Mortal Kombat got delayed a week. Venom got delayed a week, and Hitman's Bodyguard, which we all thought would get moved, 2 got moved as well. We're probably going to see more of these things shake out. I think Mortal Kombat was moved to give Godzilla vs. King Kong more room, as well as like the schedule is so flippy floppy. I think release dates until more people that get vaccinated are just like no one who reports on release dates can remember them because they move so much. I notice that's a constant theme. We used to always know what these things are, but it's like hard to keep track of them. So that's going to continue. We keep seeing a lot of pushback towards Comic-Con, Thanksgiving. I heard a couple people bring up WonderCon, which which basically was before all of this nonsense. Before was a pretty big con, and they moved it to actually Easter weekend and sort of ruined it. And a lot of people are mentioning like times where the Comic-Con people have moved conventions at different locations and different dates and destroyed them. I don't think Thanksgiving is a good weekend. You're not going to get talent, which apparently was a problem with WonderCon and other cons when they do that sort of thing. I think I don't see exactly how they think they're going to do this. And I said last week it was a bad idea, and apparently like talent have all pretty much turned it down. So I think this is apparently the only weekend they could get. I think maybe they should cut it out. So a few Academy Awards things. Before they said there would be no Zoom. Now they're saying that you are allowed to use Zoom. There's going to be various Academy like places that people can go in, like London and things like that. So they'll have like the Union Station place. They'll have some stuff at the Kodak Theater. They're going to have it all over the place so people can socially distance. Also because it would just be too expensive to like keep people in a hotel for like that long to quarantine, to take them off the productions. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, jobs messed up, all these things. So obviously they're not doing that. Apparently there was some news meeting and Steven Soderbergh, who's one of the producers, was involved. And I keep reading, and this is like, I've noticed like sometimes reporters are just like unnecessarily rude, and this is definitely a case with that. And some woman who is a nominee asked like, well, when you win, do you have to keep your face mask on, basically? And like both the Hollywood Reporter and I think another place were like, this woman was so presumptive. I'm like, no, she's a nominee. That's like a normal question. And frankly, they should have had the answer for it. And it's like, fuck you guys. Like, she wasn't like, obviously when I win, like, well, when you win, are you required to? It's like, I thought that was a real normal question someone should ask. So like, whatever. Just sort of annoyed me constantly reading this person in the Zoom call I wasn't in being like shit on for asking it. Like, come on. And then I do like that. I think I mentioned before that Shaka King, who directed Judas and the Black Messiah, saying he didn't recognize the award show. I also like that Ryan Coogler apparently turned down being in the Academy because he didn't agree with that sort of a thing. I think that's actually really cool because he was like, I don't really agree with ranking films and performances and artists against one another. The Judas and the Black Messiah producing team is amazing. That's cool. I like these guys. I think that's amazing. All right, so let's go through a ton of trailers. I guess they should air Peppa Pig next year. I mean, why not? Why not air the English stuff? So trailers and stuff. Let's go through these. We are running a little late already. Is that? Yeah, I think after trailers and stuff, I'm just gonna. All right, there were a bunch of trailers. I'll just go through them very quickly. This one I didn't know about, and I found out about it. It's called The Spine of Night. It's like this cool animated fantasy thing. I'd never heard of it until recently. It looked really cool. I don't know when I'll be able to see that, but when I do, I might do a review of it. That looks really neat. We have the Spiral trailer. It's weird that Samuel Jackson's playing Chris Rock's dad. I don't think the age difference is that big between them. I never thought it was, but whatever. It looks like a pretty cool movie. I don't know if I'll get to see it because I don't know if I'll be going to theaters at that point yet. The Yasuka trailer with Lakeith Stanfield as like this black samurai, that looks really cool as well. Like a fun animated series. We also have the Wrath of Man trailer with Jason Statham. It's actually a Guy Ritchie movie. You would just, from looking at it, looks like just a Jason Statham movie. But I it looked like a good Jason Statham movie, to be honest with you. He's just like a guy who stops bank robbers, and apparently he has like a vendetta because his son was killed by bank robbers. So it's like, I don't know. Looks, I was like, I would see this. This looks like a Guy Ritchie movie I'd want to see. I'm not as interested in the new ones, but that one looked cool. Sam Jackson is 72. Fuck, he does not look 72. There was a new Suicide Squad trailer. Looked cool. The Night House, which is a kind of haunted house, it's more of a drama than a haunted house. I will agree that they did really push the Conjuring element to it, and then the woman whose husband had killed himself recently, and then she finds out there's a layout to her house but backwards. That was really creepy. I'm sort of excited with that, with Rebecca Hall. Zola, which is based on that Twitter thread, which I never read but have heard about this movie forever. It looked like a fun, crazy movie. Looked very, I forget the director of the Florida Project and Tangerine, but looked very much in his style. I don't think he directed it. There's the Bad Batch trailer. I don't know the Bad Batch. I don't know the Bad Batch stuff that well, but that looked kind of cool. And then there was one about it's called Wall Street, but it's Wall Street, WHL, like Mark Wahlberg. That I don't. Sure, I. Why not? Why not? I think we've run out of thing. I guess the only thing, the Walt Disney Muppet Babies lawsuit, they did not win, unfortunately. The writer of Muppet Babies, I'm sorry for them. As well as apparently there's going to be a Micronauts animated TV show next year. They're saying it's been worked on. We have not seen anything from it. It's from people who are working on other shows that said we might be seeing it towards the end of the year. That could be pretty cool to have that brand come back. Oh, and my final thing before I take a break, there was a really cool article about this producer, Randall Emmett, who was on Vulture. I've been meaning to retweet it. I'm sorry I have not. He produces a lot of what they call in the article geezer teasers, which are basically those films on VOD that star like Bruce Willis or like Mel Gibson or something, and they're barely in the movie. And it was showing like he's basically like a guy who, and this ties into Mark Wahlberg. One of my favorite quotes is, so he was Mark Wahlberg's friend, and if you didn't know, the show Entourage is based on Mark Wahlberg and his like entourage basically, and he was the guy that Turtle is based on, if you know Entourage. And apparently he always wanted to be a producer, and he would tell Mark Wahlberg, he was like, I want to be a producer, and Mark Wahlberg was like, oh yeah, why don't you go produce me a drink? I like, that's fucked up. But it basically goes through like how he became a producer, how he helped raise money for Martin Scorsese's Silence, like all these things. He seems like an interesting guy. I've like helped with like basically like Q&As he did. I've read your last chat, Pam Bennett, about the Peppa Pig thing. Don't worry about it. It's cool. They should do the English job. Are you okay? Don't worry. I get your point about the Peppa Pig thing. But he's an interesting guy. He's like a finance guy. It's like a different avenue of the film business. It's a good read, basically. All right, I'm going to take a break. I don't think anyone died this week or something. Anyway, and then and then we'll talk about Falcon Winter Soldier episode 3 and do what to watch with Rabbit Ears blog, which I probably didn't say earlier, but she's here to be my guest this week. And then we'll do questions, and I hope we won't run late. We'll see about that because we're already running late. And yeah. All right. Cool. I will be right back. My mentions were sort of a mess this week because of that AVGN tweet. So I did not see any fan art, so we're just going to not have any, I guess. Well, what do we... I can't set anything up. I'm just going to leave. This will just be empty this time. Sorry. That kind of fell by the wayside. Apologies for that. I will be right back. Thank you all for being here. And, yeah, I'll be right back and all those good things. I will... Yeah. Cool. Cool. I'll be right back and we'll talk about Falcon Winter Soldier and do the What to Watch segment and all those things. All right. Be right back. Oh, didn't talk about the Obi-Wan casting enough. I think it was good casting. It was cool that Camille's there and the Uncle Owen thing and all that. It was good, it was good. But yeah. There's not too much. It was just funny the way they announced it. They announced all these names and just said Obi-Wan. I'm like, are they all Obi-Wan? But I don't think they said who Luke was. But it was interesting seeing Joel Edgerton come back as Uncle Owen. I thought that was interesting because I think he was only really cast as like a tax thing for Australia because you have to have a certain amount of Australians in your production. So yeah. Oh, I like Cinerams. Okay, I saw the Droogs in the Space Jam trailer. Everything is fine now. Okay. The lack of Jar Jar. I think they could have put Jar Jar in, but I get it. I think they should probably do something with Jar Jar to sort of redeem him. I think that would be nice for Ahmed Best and be nice for the character, but it seems like they probably know how poisonous the Star Wars fandom is, so they're probably not going to do it anytime soon. It'd be cool if Jar Jar showed up in The Mandalorian, but we'll see what happens. Oh, not plausible. I like that. John Cheadle is a robot being controlled by uh by Pinky and the Brain. Ace the Wind Rider. I'm sorry. I will save that for next week. Apologies. Just my mentions are kind of a mess because of that one tweet. It's just like keeps going, so I couldn't have that on. Sorry. All right. I did actually check like a little bit ago, but I was missing things this week. So if you did try to tweet at me, I'm sorry if I missed that. Buster's right here. That's why I'm under here. All right. What do you mean I don't think Luke is going to be in it? Luke has to be in it. Obi-Wan brought him there. What is he just like, go like, I don't know, Luke's down there or something. Ignore it. Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like he's going to be mentioned at least. It's like, hey. Hey. Hey, no. Come here. Hold on, guys. You're okay. It's okay. Hey, do you want to hang out with me for a little bit? Are you okay? Sorry. Okay. Sorry, no, he gets like this. Sorry. You okay? Okay, hey, don't freak out. You're okay. Alright, sorry. Okay, alright, he's okay. Is he okay? Buster. Come back. Hang out with me. Alright? Are you okay? Okay. Sorry. Alright. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure he's alright. Okay. Sorry. He gets like that sometimes. Alright. Sorry, you just gotta take care of. Yeah. Pam Bennett, we get the Peppa Pig joke. It has run its course, trust me. Alright, okay. So, Falcon and Winter Soldier, episode 3. What I've noticed about the reception of the show, and I think I've said, what I've said about this is I think it is very much like Walter Hill, who's a director who he really much believes in like deconstruction. He did The Driver. He did all sorts of stuff like that. He did The Driver. He wrote Alien. He wrote and directed The Warriors. He's a great 48 Hours. He's a great director, but he's mainly known as doing these very economical kind of scripts where like everything, it's sort of like no frills writing, but it's very concise kind of writing when he does it right. His later stuff I'm not going to get into. But when he was at his peak, he was very great. But this episode in particular feels like an episode that works if you were watching it all in a row, but separate. It just doesn't feel entirely as alone in itself, which is interesting because it feels like this is the first of the Marvel shows to have an episode that very much feels like a part of the run, basically, but not one you can watch just by itself as much. You know what I mean? That's the way it feels. Again, like the one thing about there's somebody's having an accident apparently. I probably should have put spoilers. Sorry. Sorry, spoilers just in case. But it did sort of feel that way. It was interesting because it does feel like it's more of a part of something. But one of the things about this one especially is like they sort of do certain construction really well with characters and others they don't. And you can sense that, and I think the problem with these shows is they're like, let's expand on these characters, but they still do the Marvel thing. They're like, but you know these characters, and you want to be like, no, I don't, Marvel. Like, that's why you're doing this. Like, fucking explain it to me. Sorry, Austin. Thank you for putting spoilers. But so like the thing with Zemo was like really funny because you think of it if you never read the comics, when he puts on the mask suddenly, you're like, does he do that? He's never done that. And then he's like fighting people and like getting the car and stuff. I was like, I wish someone had been like, why did you put on that dumb mask all of a sudden? Like, what the fuck is that about, man? Like, that's really weird. Like, why did you just like, I don't know. It was cool because you know Zemo, the character, does that, but like in the comics, but it just like, it was sort of a weird story element. This episode was more focused on telling the story of the season, but not the story of this. And like particularly like if you look at how it breaks down action sequences, and what's really interesting about this is this was actually written by the creator of John Wick, Derek Kolstad, who, when you think of John Wick, it's known for its action set pieces, and you have two in this. You have the prison break thing with Zemo, which could have been its own big thing, and then you have a later fight in those kind of those container things, and they don't really hold on those as much as you normally expect. You'd think that they would hold on them more, but it's more about like what information we need from it than it is about staying on those things, which is interesting. I think this show is so like into its own like investigative story thing. I get like why people aren't essentially like so excited about it, because it's not exciting necessarily. Sorry, Buster's hair gets everywhere. Dashboard confessional. Then you also have the thing with Sharon Carter, who I think isn't Sharon Carter. Yes, Sharon Carter. I like that she's become more cynical. I get the impression she stayed around after the snap. We didn't really get did Zemo disappear? Did she disappear? We didn't find out about that. But you get the impression because she's changed so much, especially because of what happened in the events of Winter Soldier and Civil War and all that stuff, what happened to her. But I like that kind of cynical change in her. I know she became bad in the comics because of some like weird mind control stuff, but I kind of find that to be an interesting arc. I would actually like to have a thing explaining like what happened to her and how she became that way, because she was so different like in Civil War. If you see her like talking about when her mom died and so forth, or her grandmother died, apologies, or her aunt, great aunt, whatever. It was such a turn in that character. And I also like Anthony Mackie being like pretending to be like this pimp character. Apparently Falcon was sort of a street hustler originally, so it's kind of a callback to that. And it did have some things like the Latvia thing. Is that supposed to be like Dr. Doom's Latveria or something? And it seemed to be pointing at certain things, like when Zemo brings up the whole thing with they didn't see the Sokovia tribute or whatever. They didn't see this. It seems to be mentioning a lot of things with symbols that will be important later. And even the thing at the very end, it seems to point out a bunch of problems that are rising, but we don't see like we don't get to the end of an act, we don't get to anything like that, but this feels like an important part. It feels like almost weird to review this because it doesn't feel like there's necessarily I felt like I'm watching Act 2 and I'm not watching Act 1 and Act 3. I sort of think it really worked very well with that, and I think that's something that works for this show is it is so focused on like the story of this whole thing. I went with it and I really enjoy that. But I get why people don't because this is like more like a a procedural way of doing it and being very economical and watchable. But I do sort of get the vibe that this show would hold up to a rewatch actually. Like if I were to rewatch all of this in a row, I think it would hold up really well. I almost want to watch it all in a row to see if it does, but it feels that way. It feels like I'm like dropped right back in it. I still feel like we know so much more about Bucky that this is almost the Winter Soldier show. Like we know 100% how he feels about certain things, how he feels about this and that, and then when we look at Falcon, we don't know 100% what's going through his head. He has to explain it a lot of the time. And I feel like that's sort of like, I almost wish this show was just called Winter Soldier because it doesn't feel like they're going into the psyches of them the same way. And I understand they're different characters, but I wish they found a way to do that. I also probably should listen to Troubling Man by Marvin Gaye on Spotify. I don't know why I haven't done that. I still like this show. I like all its references. I like maybe we could get a Doctor Doom. Latvia, okay, I'm sorry, Latvia is a real country, but if people are saying, like, where it is with Sokovia, are they saying that's Latveria and things like that? That's, I think, what I heard various people say. I'm, by the way, more excited for Doctor Doom to show up than Wolverine or something, although they had a reference to a Wolverine Captain America issue, which is really cool. Sorry, I got that confused. However, I still like the show. I like where it's going, but this did feel like just like a piece of a story. But I will say, reading into this, I need to go into the Tuskegee Institute stuff. I want to listen. There's a podcast I want to listen to about that. I want to read the thing about the Captain Avenger, the Black Captain America character from a couple weeks ago, things like that. It's like this has piqued a lot of interest for me, and it's a good entrance into a lot of real world interesting issues. And what's interesting about this show versus WandaVision is it's really picking real parts of history and understanding the context of them. And I feel like with WandaVision, it was just like sort of picking things and it didn't really understand why it was using them. And this show feels like it is, and I kind of appreciate that a lot more. So I'm excited to see where this goes, and right now I like where it's going right now. All right. Yeah, I did know about the Tuskegee Institute, but I want to like research it more is what I'm saying. Anyway, spoilers over. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. Let me make sure I have Rabbit Ears blog ready. Can we put that up there? Okay. Cool. Okay, so I have a comment. What's the comment say? Wubsy. Apparently I mentioned Wubsy. Does anyone know what the Mega 64 Anti 36 is? They said they want me on their show. I don't know what that is. Does anyone know what that is? You did the Space Jam sections at the beginning. I'm sorry. All right, so this is my what to watch segment. Basically, what is... Well, look at this one thing that I didn't come up with a good name for. Okay, what is this segment, what to watch? Basically, what I do is I go through, once a month, I go through various streaming services and tell you different things that I watched that I think are cool, or other things that I've found that would be cool for you to watch that I want to tell you about. And that's basically what this is. It is not confined to one streaming service. It is confined to many of them. And if you're watching this later, just look at it as movie recommendations, and you should check out these movies. So even if they're on different streaming services, or however they're available in wherever you're watching this, just look at it that way. It's sort of a streaming recommendation thing, but it's generally just movies. I also have Rabbit Ears blog on here as well, and thank you very much for her for being on this show. It's really nice for her, and she has a good channel. You should subscribe. Seriously, I will put up in the chat, by the way, her YouTube channel after this. Anyway, so let's go through these. Now, some of these I have reviewed in the last month. Some of these I haven't, but I will explain them and go through them. The first one I have, and just this past week, the review came out, was Sound of Metal. It's a really great drama film. It's been nominated for a bunch of Oscars. It's about a drummer who's losing his hearing. It's on Amazon Prime with a great performance by Riz Ahmed and Paul Ricci and Olivia Cook. It's a really great movie. I think you all would actually really like it, particularly if you guys like... it's a gaming YouTube channel? Well, that's weird. I'm going to look into that more, by the way. But it's a really great one, drama. I really liked it, actually. I liked Riz Ahmed as well. Also, in another Oscar, these are 3 Oscar nominated things in a row, is Nomadland, which I'll review out this coming week. It's on Hulu. That's a very wonderful film about kind of nomad people living in America trying to find their way. Frances McDormand does a different kind of performance, but it's a really good one. If you have Hulu, if you want to catch up on Oscars, it's probably going to win Best Picture. That's what people are saying, at least right now. It's a great movie. It's a little... kind of slower and mellower than you expect from an Oscar thing. So if you want to see like a really interesting kind of indie film from Chloe Zhao, although, as indie as being on being under the Disney Corporation, she still makes a really great movie that talks about the kind of having economic inequalities later in life and being forgot about in a changing economy and what to do when you're driving around on the road, which Frances McDormand does. It's probably a terrible description, but I'll have a review of it later when I get more into it. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is on Netflix. I have reviewed that as well. But it is August Wilson's play. It's really great, and with Chadwick Boseman's final performance as well as Viola Davis is really wonderful. That's a really great movie. Operation Varsity Blues is on Netflix. This is one I had on while I was doing other things, to be honest with you. But it works really well with that, and I had to finish it. Matthew Modine basically plays kind of a weird character, but I think that performance really works very well with what it's doing. For what it is, I think it very much works. I'm sure there'll be a deeper podcast going through it. They don't really get into Felicity Huffman, but they do get into more Lori Loughlin. But it was interesting how that whole scandal went down. If you're interested in that story, I'd recommend it. I don't think it's necessarily a great documentary, but it's good at what it's doing and has a lot of reenactments in it. So if reenactments bug you, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you like reenactments, they actually did a decent job, I would say. Alan V. Farrow. Now, obviously, this is going to be very... this is a hard one to get through, I will say, because it's dealing with Woody Allen and his, sexual abuse of Dylan Farrow and everything he did with Mia Farrow as well. I haven't finished it. There's one I have left, but I do think it's a really good documentary. I think it's an important documentary. I think we need to reframe Woody Allen, and it does. I think there's certain topics they could have gone into a little more in terms of like his reputation, how shitty he was to people, things of that nature. But I think it's a good documentary series. If you really like Woody Allen, I would recommend you see it and think about that. That's all I gotta say. Beverly Hills Cop is on HBO Max. Here's the thing. I watched Beverly Hills Cop when I was a kid, and I watched it, cartoons. I watched Eddie Murphy movies, cartoons, and Police Academy, and I realized when I was watching Beverly Hills Cop, my memories of these things got so meshed together, I did not know where one began and one ended. I saw a scene on Twitter of James Earl Jones coming into the barbershop and people throwing like flowers. If you had asked me if you describe that, I would have said, oh, that's in Ninja Turtles or something. Like, my brain got these all, my 1980s kid brain got them all mushed together for some reason. So that's kind of why I'm glad I watched this. It's a good movie. It does feel like way more sanitized Eddie Murphy than you got in like 48 Hours, for example. But I sort of get like how he became a big star. I know why he's a big star, but it was fun. It was a fun rewatch. If you've never seen Beverly Hills Cop, it's worth watching. But it was it was interesting. Like the opening sequence, I was like, I thought this is Police Academy until that's what my brain told me. So I think I thought Police Academy was a lot better until this week. I would recommend that Ghost kids show in LA, but I couldn't remember the name of it and I forgot to look it up. But Waffles and Mochi is on Netflix. So he's watching it with Michelle Obama. It's really good. If you need to talk about healthy eating with your kids, I think it is a great watch there. They did a good job following up things like, for example, much like Sesame Street. I think it's a good follow-up to that. Also, Top Hat. Top Hat is on HBO Max. It is one of the greatest Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movies of all time. It might be the greatest. Some people say other ones, Swing Time, all that. I've always thought Top Hat is one of the greatest films ever made. So check that out if you've never seen a Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers movie. It's a good place to start, in my mind. There's the Star Wars Vintage Collection on Disney Plus. I think that is a great collection of cool Star Wars things, the Ewok movies, everything like that, as well as Risky Business is on HBO Max. You also have, which that's a classic Tom Cruise kind of like more moody teen film. It's actually really good. It's not just like him in his underwear dancing. Like that's like, it's actually about a guy who makes a brothel in his house when his parents are out of town, and it gets like moody and existential, and Tangerine Dream does the soundtrack. Seriously, you haven't seen Risky Business, check that out. It's like way better than you have any idea, and the pop culture memory of it is like not really the movie. So just pointing that out. King Kong vs. Godzilla is on both YouTube, the American cut, for free, and the Internet Archive has the Japanese cut for free. I would recommend the Japanese cut. Check that out. And before I get into the Tubi stuff, Pluto, I like to recommend a different Pluto channel. Did you know Pluto has a channel for just Asylum stuff? If you know what Asylum is, they do like rip-offs of Transformers and Pacific Rim and all these things. There's a whole channel on Pluto. So if you ever wanted to watch Asylum, just go to Pluto and watch that channel. I just discovered that this week. I thought it was amazing. Here's some Tubi recommendations. Tubi is free, by the way, so if you're having trouble finding stuff to watch, it's a great service. Drive, which is one of my favorite movies of the 2010s. Rumble in the Bronx, which is not the greatest Jackie Chan movie, but it's like one of the ones I got into him first because I'm a 90s kid. Ninja, Shadow of a Tear, which I'm sure I've recommended on one of these before, but it's a great B action movie. It's actually the second Ninja movie, but you don't need to watch the first one. It is a really good B action movie, like one of the best of this decade. North of the North is on Tubi. I don't think I need to say anything more. And to finish this Eddie Murphy thing off, Coming to America. So let's hear Rabbit Ear blog. She chose to specifically say things, from Hulu. And I think she has some good picks. And so let's get into that.
Hey everyone, this is Rabbit's blog, and I'll be doing a recommendations list where I list down 5 movies that I recommend you guys check out on these streaming services. And Jim had asked me to do a recommendations video of some movies that I've watched on any streaming platform, and I decided to make a list of my top 5 most unusual movies on Hulu. The reason why I did this list is because Hulu has some of the most unusual movies out there, and I usually love watching movies that are unusual or weird. So let's get started. Coming in at number 5 is Colossal. So this film stars Anne Hathaway, and it's about her character being an alcoholic, and one day she discovers that she has the ability to control a monster from a faraway city, and the rest of the film is spent on Anne Hathaway's character discovering this new ability while dealing with her alcoholism. I thought this film was really interesting. I think that Anne Hathaway did a fantastic job at portraying this character being an alcoholic and how she's trying to control her powers of being able to control this monster in a faraway country. And I just love the interesting way that this film approached the subject of alcoholism and how it's connected to this character who's able to control all these monsters in other countries. So I definitely recommend this movie if you're a huge fan of Anne Hathaway and if you love watching Godzilla-like movies. Coming in at number 4 is Sonic the Hedgehog. So in this video game mascot's first live-action film, it has Sonic the Hedgehog going to the planet Earth, and not only does he meet a human cop named Tom, but he also meets up with the mad scientist, Dr. Robotnik. Now, when I first heard about this movie, I was actually a little hesitant about this movie, especially after I saw the original design for this character, but after I watched this movie, I ended up really enjoying this movie. I like how they portray Sonic the Hedgehog in this movie, as he's more vulnerable in this movie, but has a lot of personality. And I really love the way that Jim Carrey portrayed Dr. Robotnik in this film, as he's able to balance the threatening nature and the humorous nature of Dr. Robotnik all into one character. And I definitely recommend this film if you're a huge fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. Coming in at number 3 is Bad Hair. So in this film, a young woman ends up getting into the music industry, but she realizes that she has to get a new hairdo in order to make it up to the top in the music industry. So when the woman meets up with this hairstylist who gives her this mysterious weave for her hair, it turns out that the weave might actually not be what it seems. I was actually surprised with how much I really enjoyed this film. I like the way that this film addressed the issue about how people are being perceived by their looks, and it shows that in this film, the young woman has to get a weave in order to look good in the workplace and get attention. And I also really like the horror elements with this movie, as the hair is actually coming alive, and I thought that was a really interesting concept for this film. So I definitely recommend this film if you like to watch a good horror movie that has a very unusual premise. Coming in at number 2 is Palm Springs. So in this film, a couple named Niles and Sarah end up going to a wedding party, and they were miserable, so they decide to sneak out of the wedding party. But then they meet up with this crazy old man who ends up chasing Niles into this mysterious cave, and it turns out that once both Niles and Sarah enter this cave, they end up reliving the same day over and over again, and they spend the rest of the film trying to find a way out of this Groundhog Day loop. So when I first heard about this film, I thought it was just going to be a straight up romantic comedy, but then when that sci-fi twist came in at the beginning of the movie, I was instantly hooked to this film. Like, I like how this film approached the sci-fi elements of time traveling, and I really like Niles and Sarah's relationship with each other, so I definitely recommend this movie if you love romantic comedies with a surreal twist to it. And finally, my number 1 pick is Sorry to Bother You. So in this film, a young man named Cassius ends up working for this mysterious agency, and at first he was getting along fine with his job until he finds out that this job is actually much more horrifying than he realized it is. This is one of my all-time favorite movies on Hulu, and I just love how bizarre this movie is. There's a lot of weird moments going on through this film, and I also like the way that this film approaches the negative side of capitalism. It was not only interesting seeing a movie tackle a political issue, but it does it in such a bizarre way that it got me hooked from the beginning to end. So I definitely recommend this movie if you love watching weird movies in general. So that's my top 5 most unusual movies from Hulu. And you could definitely check out these movies on Hulu if you want to watch weird movies. And I'd like to thank Jim for having me here today. I would love to do another one of these recommendation videos down the line. So thank you for having me here, Jim. I hope everybody enjoys this video. This is Rabbit's Blog, and I'll see you guys later.
Thank you very much for being on Rabbit's Blog. That was a great bunch of movies. I need to check out Bad Hair. That sounded really cool, as well as I'm sure everybody liked. I'm sure everybody liked your Sonic. And Sorry to Bother You is also really good. Check out her YouTube channel. It'll be in the description below. Subscribe. It's really cool. So if I make these basically do kind of basically give you movie recommendations. If you're watching this and there's a movie you would like for people to know about or you would like to recommend, please leave it below in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and subscribe if you would like to. And, you know, because it's going to be a separate thing. You guys know how it works. All right. Let's do the questions. We are, of course, running late because I'm very bad at timing myself. But they're Patreon questions, and I will answer your guys' questions. Jordan Bouchard asks, which entertainment news outlet, websites, and pages do you use most frequently for movie, television, and animation news? What I would say is, first off, I do read... Hollywood Reporter, I pick over Variety. I used to read more Deadline. I don't read Deadline very much at all anymore. But I mainly follow Slash Film, and Slash Film's podcast, Slash Film Daily, is probably the best. I've been starting to watch Perry Nemiroff's YouTube channel. She knows her shit very well. The Snyder Cut, which is Jeff Snyder. He's very good at knowing his stuff. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of these people in terms of their opinions on movies, but I agree with them in terms of reporting on the news, which is, I think, something you have to sacrifice. Particularly, like, with animation, you're sort of stuck with Cartoon Brew. I don't like Cartoon Brew, but we're stuck with them. I don't think anyone likes Cartoon Brew at this point. But I would say, like, Collider, Slash Film, Hollywood Reporter, and those sources. I would say those are probably it. Sometimes like Justin Kroll is a good one as well. Those are all like good at like being like truthful, honest, and they might have different opinions on my movies, but I don't. It's mainly more about like I want accurate reporting, so I try to go for whoever has the most accurate, who gets exclusive, who writes about it best. Scott Menzel, I think, who writes for Forbes, is probably the best box office person. Yeah, I hope that answered that. Austin asks, this is great, by the way. He said, "Hey, it's Austin. Hasn't it been a great show? So my question is the best Adult Swim April Fool's joke, and is that what is the best Adult Swim April Fool's joke, and what's the best April Fool's joke you ever done or been done on you?" Been done on me, I think. One time I had a boss, and like we were towards the end of like my probationary period, and they're like, oh, suddenly I have a call, and it was like they got my head boss's secretary to tell me I wasn't going to be approved, and that they're like April Fool, and they just fell on the ground laughing at me. That was kind of fucked up, but I was like, I don't know, that was a good one because they really got me. I shouldn't laugh at that, but they were nice guys. Best Adult Swim one, I would say last year, just because it was like right at the beginning of quarantine. It was just something nice, to be honest with you. So I always have fond memories of that. Best one I've ever done. One time my dad had us all call my grandmother to tell her like my mom was pregnant, which she wasn't. That was sort of fucked up. I don't know. But yeah, Nathaniel Fogg has two questions. First is, what's a song you felt was completely out of place in a movie soundtrack? Probably the Avril Lavigne one from the first SpongeBob movie, because when I ripped that CD, I cut it out because I thought it was awful. And he said, how would you describe the kind of friendship you and Ian had? I mean, we lived together. It was kind of like just brotherly kind of friendship, I would say. So, all right. Let us do the questions. I should just put questions at the beginning, shouldn't I? But I think it was Zane Powers' first. So, let me drink some Red Bull just to finish this off. Thank you, everyone who is still here, by the way. Who is a series? I'm assuming it's what is a series who took on a series after the original creator left and proved to be better for handling and knowing the franchise than the original? Justin Lin on Fast and Furious. Cornbread, does the lack of Jar Jar Binks in the Kenobi limited run series make way for more Katana Wolfman? It does. It does. I saw a couple of reporters saying that, so I agree. Austin, question, fun fact. Original James Gunn used a hammerhead shark. I heard about this, actually. Sorry. Original James Gunn used a hammerhead shark for King Shark, but found it awkward to film with other actors due to his eyes being on the sides of his heads. There's a part 2 to this? Okay. Hold on. Sorry. I don't see your part 2. We'll get to that later, I guess. Major Mechazawa, now that Gendy's Clone Wars is on Disney Plus, do you think we might get a Blu-ray release in the near future? No, but it's possible, but I kind of don't. I think Disney's moving away from that side. I wouldn't hold your breath for that. Zane Powers, were you on the edge of your seat about the news cycle on the boat getting stuck and then unstuck? I found that to be really funny, and I was like, how is all of like the economy based on boats? I guess you kind of forget like how many things like don't work just on the internet, like how many boats we still have. Bruce Parker, since AMC is getting into animation with a Better Call Saul animated series, what other shows should get that treatment? I guess you mean live action. I wouldn't mind. How about this? A Law and Order animated show that's animated really weird. I would like that. Alex the Menace, have you heard about what happened to DMX today? If so, any thoughts? I hope he's okay. I hope it turned out for the better. I grew up, I was in high school when he really broke, so if anything, I would be pretty sad about that. He was never my favorite rapper or anything like that. What was that one he did that was like a Public Enemy video where he's in a jail cell? It was like dun 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 dun. That's like maybe I think one of my favorites by him. He really was a huge rapper. Like he put out like he he kept putting out number one albums like consistently. I don't think he gets enough real credit now. He's not like the greatest MC, but like he really was like putting shit out there a lot. Like it's kind of insane what he was doing in the 90s. Nathaniel Foga, see any anime recently? No, I don't think I have actually. I need to get better about anime. Medela Butterfly, favorite Easter special, Rugrats, Passover. I know it's not real. I don't know. That's still up there for me. Can you list some of your favorite Adult Swim pranks? My personal favorite are Toonami returning and the Aqua Teen Hunger Force one playing in full as a corner of the screen. Oh, that would be up there. I'm sorry, I forgot about that one. I can't remember them all, but I would say that. I don't know if I could rank them, but I would say that. I remember that, and I thought that was like, they're really doing this the whole time? It was like, that was funny. Sleepy Time 4Cat Productions. Is Mortal Kombat being delayed? Did you finally get the iconic Chun-Li back in? Yes, 100%. I'm glad you mentioned that, actually. Thank you for saying that. Not plausible. Since Biden is part responsible for Cartoon All-Stars to the rest... Is that true? I didn't know that. Is it conceivable that Amtrak Joe might get Infinity Train renewed and administration renews tunes for a change? You know... I don't agree a lot with all the crazy Infinity Train stuff we see on Twitter, but I would retweet that shit because that is so true. Not plausible. I don't know if you have a Twitter, but at me on that because that is a solid theory there. You know what? And Joe Biden likes trains, so maybe Infinity Train will come back. Zane Powers, what running joke of yours do you think is the most overplayed and tired? Probably anything to do with monster trucks because I don't know. Although I like everything Nathaniel Foga's given me. Let me just say that. But yeah. Although I lean into it too much. Maybe that one? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Worst soundtrack for a movie from Nathaniel Foga. I never hate soundtracks that much, oddly. I don't know what I could say about that. Yeah. Maybe like The Crow 3. I don't know. Black Sea Ox and Winkle, what do you recommend for making my own pizza? I would say have fun with it because you're never going to do that great to like perfect it because pizza's a real art, man. So like I would just say just like have fun and put what you want. Make a pizza. Don't go. The problem is when people make their own pizza, they put too much crap on there and that stinks. Just like pick a topping and stick with it. You can do 2 toppings. I would only stick with 2 toppings. That's what I would say. Zane Powers, who's a lame actress that moms really like? I always said Doris Day, and my grandmother never liked that. So, Bruce Parker, worst cartoon brewisms. Stirring up weird controversies, probably. M. Blood T, why restore the Snyder Cut when every Warner Brothers movie already looks like a Zack Snyder movie? Yeah. Black Sea Winkle, what do you think about Atlas Shrugged and Zack Snyder? Jordan Salafalo, I mean, Zack Snyder's just... Jordan Salafalo, what is a good animated show Ralph Bakshi movie to start with? I think Fritz is good. I actually think Mighty Mouse is very good to start with. I think Fire and Ice, by the way, is underrated. I like Fire and Ice. Zane Powers, where were you on the day of Mario's public execution? I was at home, just chilling. Why wasn't Halle Berry's Catwoman the rejected world? Bruce Parker. That's a good question. Maybe she'll come in. She'd hold the whip and all that. People seem to really like her in the whip. They didn't like the movie, but they like to talk about her whip a lot. Oh man, here we go. Okay. Zane Powers, what happened to Director's Jail? Franchises took over. That's what happened. Austin, fun fact, he settled on a great white shark, similar to the one we saw in the Harley Quinn show, though this was a coincidence since the series was released after filming the Snyder Cut. Or the Suicide Squad. Okay. I still think he should have gotten Ron Funches to be the shark. He's way better than Stallone. I'll say that. So you're telling me that Space Jam isn't a piece of artistic expression that was just a corporate soulless creation? Zane Powers, yes, I am saying that. Not plausible. When are we getting Jim's pinball reviews? One day. E627, did you see the Clockwork Orange cameo in the Space Jam trailer? Yes, and I'm super confused. Black House, Slim Winkle, cassettes or CDs? Oh, cassettes. Cornbread, does me calling you Big Cat imply the existence of a small cat? And if so, who is the hypothetical small cat? Buster, I guess? Favorite episode of Butch Hartman's conversion camp. I'm, by the way, surprised they did not get in more trouble for that conversion camp joke. Probably season 3. Question, are we beyond Thunderdome? I don't think we can ever really get beyond Thunderdome. Or aren't we all? Whatever. What's a remake you consider superior from the original? Maybe The Thing? Let's just say that, maybe. Same Powers, you didn't talk about it last week, but what are your thoughts on the Discord being bought story and the misinformation going around about that? I don't want it to happen, and I don't think they'll do a good job. So I hope it doesn't. Jordan Powers, what's your favorite Gorillas video? Well, we'll see, I guess. I'm not sure. Maybe Clint Eastwood, but we'll see because I'm going through them all. Favorite level in Miss Pac-Man, Black Sea Axwinkle. Maybe the second one. What is life, Pam Bennett? I'm not sure. That's a good answer. Who's the next worst person in Seinfeld? Ace the Wind Rider. Jason Alexander. Is anyone who criticizes me and points out my flaws nothing but a hater? Sure. St. Paris. Do you plan to go to the Gathering of the Juggalos, Black Sea? I was, but just not a good time. What is your favorite Adult Swim show? Pam Bennett, probably 12 Ounce Mouse. Jordan Powers, what is an IP that is an obvious ripoff of another, but it's better than the thing that it's ripping off? I don't know. Maybe the Shazam movie. What's the last new comic you've read? I couldn't tell you. Although I want to read The Truth one. I've been thinking about that. What's your show you love watching growing up? Masters Universe. That's Kate Mealy. Sorry. Let's just do one more from someone who hasn't. Pig Pancake. Okay. For advice on listening to criticism, who should I pay attention to more? Someone who goes on a video essay on why a TV show or movie objectively sucks, or a professional in the industry? To be honest with you, Pig Pancake, I think professionals in the industry are usually a little better at knowing how to express certain things and know how to express certain thoughts and talking about storytelling. And I think sometimes you get people who will just jump on these things to grab attention. They don't know how to properly speak on things. So I'd say people who have a little more experience are usually a little better. But it's a case-by-case basis. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a one-on-one, but I would say for the most part that's true. Anyway, I think that is it. I think I answered a lot of them, but it is really, really late. So anyway, thank you all very much for being here. Thank you all for all the super chats tonight. Thank you for being as generous as you all are with your time and everything. Thank you if you liked this video or liked or watched it or just got to this part. And Olive, please don't do this right now. And I guess I'll see you guys all next week. Have a happy Easter. Be nice to your family. Be nice to your moms and dads and all that stuff. And I guess that's it. And thank you all very much for your support and all that stuff. And I'll see you guys all next time. All right. Have a good night and subscribe if you would like to. See you next time. Peace.